The Thompson family home glowed with warm Christmas lights, the scent of cinnamon and pine filling every corner. From the outside, it looked like the perfect holiday gathering. A beautiful Portland Victorian dressed in festive decorations, smoke curling from the chimney against the December sky. Inside, however, a storm was brewing. Iris Thompson stood frozen in the living room, her fingers clutching the small plastic piggy bank her parents had just presented to her with exaggerated smiles. Inside rattled two single-dollar coins. "It's a starter fund for your future home," her mother explained, her voice tinged with what sounded like amusement. "Everyone needs to begin somewhere." At 34, Iris was a successful structural engineer with a respected position at a Seattle firm. She had an apartment, a solid 401k, and had recently been considered for a promotion. None of this seemed to matter in the Thompson household. The contrast couldn't have been more stark. Just moments earlier, her younger sister Chelsea had unwrapped her gift, a set of keys attached to a miniature BMW ornament. Their father had dramatically pulled back the curtains, revealing a brand new BMW X3 parked in the driveway, adorned with an enormous red bow that fluttered in the winter breeze. "You deserve it, sweetheart," their father had said to Chelsea, embracing his younger daughter. "All that hard work at the boutique is finally paying off." Chelsea, 32, and the manager of a local clothing store their parents had helped her open, squealed with delight, jangling the keys. "It's exactly what I wanted. How did you know?" "Only the best for our special girl," their mother cooed, shooting a quick glance at Iris. Now, as Iris stood with the plastic piggy bank, quite literally worth $2, the familiar ache of being the lesser-loved child expanded in her chest until she could barely breathe. "Isn't it cute?" her mother prompted when Iris remained silent. "We saw it and thought of you immediately." Iris forced her lips into what she hoped resembled a smile. "Thanks. It's thoughtful." Chelsea was already outside, running her hands over the sleek metallic finish of the $35,000 vehicle. Their parents followed, leaving Iris alone in the living room with her piggy bank and the weight of 3 decades of unequal treatment. She placed the bank on the coffee table and walked to the window, watching as her family fawned over Chelsea's gift. This wasn't new. The pattern had been established since childhood. Chelsea got dance lessons. Iris got library books. Chelsea received a car for high school graduation. Iris got a gift card to the campus bookstore. When Iris graduated with honors in engineering, her parents attended but left early to help Chelsea move into a new apartment they had helped finance. Iris had always rationalized their behavior. Maybe they connected better with Chelsea's personality. Maybe they didn't understand Iris's interests. Maybe they thought she was more self-sufficient. She had built her life despite the imbalance, focusing on her career and independence. But this moment, this $35,000 versus $2 disparity, crystallized everything with brutal clarity. Her phone buzzed with a text from Monica, her college roommate who now lived in San Francisco. "How's the family Christmas going? Surviving?" Iris stared at the message, her vision blurring with tears she refused to shed. Dinner was excruciating. Chelsea dominated the conversation with plans for her new car, while their parents beamed with pride. "I think I'll take a road trip down the coast," Chelsea mused, twirling pasta around her fork. "Maybe even drive down to see Monica in San Francisco." "Wouldn't that be fun, Iris?" Iris, who had been pushing food around her plate, looked up. "Monica's my friend," she said quietly. "Friends can be shared," their mother interjected with a dismissive wave. "I'm sure Monica would love to see Chelsea too." "Speaking of your work, Iris," her father said, changing the subject with obvious discomfort, "still doing those building designs?" "I'm a structural engineer, Dad. Yes, I'm still doing that. In fact, I'm being considered for senior project manager." "Oh, that's nice," he replied, immediately turning back to Chelsea. "Have you decided what color you want for the interior accessories? Your mother and I were thinking of getting you some matching items as a New Year's surprise." The conversation continued as though Iris had never spoken. Her promotion, a significant career achievement, dismissed in favor of car accessories. She excused herself early, retreating to her childhood bedroom where little had changed since high school. Unlike Chelsea's room, which had been redecorated multiple times over the years, Iris's remained frozen in time, a museum to her teenage self. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the engineering competition trophies her parents had never displayed alongside Chelsea's participation ribbons in the family room. Her phone buzzed again. Another text from Monica. "Just checking in. You've been quiet." Iris began typing, deleted it, then started again. "Can I come visit you soon? Like very soon?" Monica's response was immediate. "Of course. Everything okay?" "Not really. We'll explain later." Iris set her phone down and began packing her suitcase. She hadn't planned to leave until after the new year, but the thought of spending another 5 days watching her sister parade around in her new car while her parents continued their lifelong pattern of favoritism was unbearable. The house grew quiet around midnight. Iris lay awake, listening to the occasional creak of the old Victorian settling. At 2 a.m. she made her decision. Silently, she carried her suitcase downstairs, pausing only to place the piggy bank prominently on the kitchen counter with a note, "Thank you for making things so clear. I won't be staying until New Year's as planned." She slipped out to her modest Honda, purchased with her own hard-earned money, and placed her suitcase in the trunk. As she backed out of the driveway, Chelsea's new BMW gleamed under the streetlights, its red bow a final exclamation point on a lifetime of inequality. The highway stretched before her, empty in the early morning hours. She headed south toward San Francisco, toward Monica, toward a future where she wouldn't have to measure her worth against her sisters. For the first time in years, tears streamed freely down her face as she drove, but they weren't just tears of hurt, they were tears of release. Dawn broke as Iris crossed the Oregon-California border, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink. She had been driving for hours, stopping only for coffee and fuel. Her phone had buzzed repeatedly with messages from her mother. "Where are you? This is extremely immature. Your father and I are very disappointed. Chelsea is upset that you've ruined Christmas." Iris had silenced the notifications after the third message. The further south she drove, the lighter she felt, as though each mile created a protective buffer between herself and the Thompson family dynamics. She pulled over at a scenic viewpoint overlooking the Northern California coastline. The Pacific stretched endlessly westward, waves crashing against rugged cliffs. Iris stepped out of her car, the cold morning air filling her lungs as she took her first full breath in what felt like days. "I'm 34 years old," she whispered to herself, "and I'm just now leaving home." The realization struck her as both sad and liberating. Physically, she had left home years ago for college and then work, but emotionally, she had remained tethered to her parents' approval that was perpetually just out of reach. She called Monica, who answered groggily. "Iris, it's barely 7 in the morning." "I'm about 6 hours away," Iris said, her voice steadier than she expected. "I left Portland at 2 a.m. "Wait, what? Are you okay to drive? What happened?" "Chelsea got a BMW with a red bow. I got a $2 piggy bank as a starter fund for a house." The silence on the other end spoke volumes before Monica finally responded. "Jesus Christ, I don't even have words." "I do," Iris said, looking out at the ocean. "I'm done. I'm completely done." "Come straight here," Monica said, fully awake now. "The guest room is yours for as long as you need it. We'll figure everything out." Iris continued her journey south, the coastal highway winding along cliffs and beaches. For the first time, she allowed herself to fully process the pattern of her family relationships without making excuses for her parents' behavior. She recalled her 8th birthday when Chelsea, age 6, had cried because she didn't have presents to open, so their parents had given her half of Iris's gifts. She remembered her high school graduation when her parents had left the ceremony early because Chelsea had called with a minor crisis about her prom dress. She thought about her college graduation, her first apartment, her first major project as an engineer. All moments that should have been celebrated but were minimized or overlooked in favor of Chelsea's more modest achievements. By the time San Francisco's skyline appeared on the horizon, Iris had mentally catalogued dozens of instances where the disparity in treatment had been painfully clear. The question that haunted her wasn't why her parents favored Chelsea, that was their issue, but why she, an accomplished professional adult, had continued to subject herself to it. Monica was waiting outside her apartment building when Iris pulled up, exhausted from the drive and emotional turmoil, but somehow more clear-headed than she'd been in years. "You look terrible," Monica said, embracing her friend tightly. "I feel terrible," Iris admitted, "and better, both at the same time." "Well, you're here now," Monica said, helping with Iris's suitcase, "and we're going to figure out what better really looks like." January passed in a blur as Iris settled into a routine in San Francisco. She had arranged to work remotely for a month, explaining to her sympathetic boss that she was dealing with family issues. Monica's guest room became a sanctuary where Iris could begin to process years of emotional neglect. "Have you spoken to them at all?" Monica asked one evening as they shared takeout on the balcony overlooking the city. Iris shook her head. "My mother texts daily. My father called once to tell me I was being dramatic and that I misunderstood their intentions with the gifts. And Chelsea. She sent a message asking if she could still visit Monica in San Francisco," Iris said with a bitter laugh, as if that was the important part of all this. At Monica's insistence, Iris had started seeing a therapist, Dr. Levine, who specialized in family dynamics. Their sessions were difficult but illuminating. "What you're describing is a classic golden child jock scapegoat dynamic," Dr. Levine explained during one session. "It's not about you, or even about Chelsea. It's about your parents' needs and issues that existed long before either of you were born. Understanding the pattern intellectually helped, but the emotional wounds ran deep. Iris struggled with anger, not just at her parents, but at herself for seeking their approval for so long. I keep thinking about all the times I downplayed my achievements because I knew they wouldn't care," she told Dr. Levine. "I turned down a fellowship in graduate school because it would have meant missing Chelsea's store opening. I didn't even want to go to the opening." "That's the insidious nature of this dynamic," Dr. Levine replied. "You were trained from childhood to prioritize your sister's needs and your parents' expectations over your own." By February, Iris had made a decision. She applied for a transfer to her company's San Francisco office, which was looking for experienced engineers for a major downtown renovation project. Her boss in Seattle was disappointed but supportive, especially when she explained the opportunity for advancement. "They're considering me for senior project manager here," she told Monica over celebratory drinks after securing the transfer. "Starting fresh, without the baggage. To new beginnings," Monica toasted, "and to finally putting yourself first." Iris found an apartment in a vibrant neighborhood close to her new office. The rent was higher than in Seattle, but the symbolism of creating her own space, one that had nothing to do with her family's expectations, was worth every penny. Her parents' messages had evolved from anger to manipulation. "Your father isn't sleeping well worrying about you. Chelsea misses her big sister. We've always supported your independence, but this is extreme." Iris shared these with Dr. Levine, who helped her craft responses that maintained boundaries without escalating conflict. Most importantly, she learned to recognize the emotional triggers these messages contained and to separate her reactions from her actions. As spring arrived, Iris's new life began to take shape. Her work on the renovation project earned her recognition within the company. She joined a hiking group, made new friends, and even went on a few dates, something she had rarely prioritized in Seattle, where work and family obligations had consumed her time. "You seem different," Monica observed one Sunday as they explored a farmer's market. "More present." Iris considered this. I think I spent so many years trying to earn love that I forgot to actually live. Well, you're making up for lost time now, Monica said, linking arms with her friend. And it looks good on you. In late April, just as Iris was settling into her new position and life, her phone rang with her father's number. She nearly declined the call, but answered after remembering Dr. Levine's advice about establishing healthy communication on her own terms. "Hello, Dad," she said, her voice neutral. "Iris," he began, sounding uncharacteristically subdued, "we need to talk about something important." The something important turned out to be a financial crisis. Her father's investment firm had suffered significant losses, and they were in danger of losing the Portland house. The conversation quickly revealed the real purpose of the call. "Your mother and I were thinking that since you're doing so well in your career, you might be able to help us out temporarily," he said. "Just until things stabilize." Iris sat down, a familiar heaviness settling in her chest. "What about Chelsea? Isn't she helping?" Her father's pause spoke volumes. "Chelsea's boutique isn't doing as well as we'd hoped. In fact, we've been helping her financially for some time." The pieces clicked into place with stunning clarity. The BMW hadn't been just another example of favoritism. It had been purchased when they were already in financial trouble, possibly even using credit they couldn't afford. "I see," Iris said carefully. "And how much help are you looking for exactly?" The figure her father named, $45,000, was substantial, representing most of her savings. When she didn't immediately agree, his tone shifted from humble to entitled. "This is what families do, Iris. They help each other. After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me, Dad?" The question escaped before she could consider it. Years of unexpressed feelings suddenly finding voice. "We raised you, educated you. I put myself through graduate school on scholarships and student loans," Iris interrupted. "I paid those loans off last year without any help from you or Mom." "That's not fair," her father protested. "We always encouraged your independence." "No, you neglected me in favor of Chelsea. There's a difference." The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, her father spoke, his voice tight with anger. "I didn't call to rehash your imagined grievances. If you don't want to help your family, just say so." Iris took a deep breath, centering herself. "I'm willing to help under certain conditions." "Conditions?" Her father sounded offended by the very concept. "Yes. First, I'll need to see your financial records to understand exactly what I'd be helping with. Second, if I provide any money, it will be as a structured loan with repayment terms, not a gift. Third, I want all four of us to attend family therapy together." "Therapy? That's ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with our family that money won't fix." "Then I guess you'll have to find that money elsewhere," Iris said calmly. "These are my terms." Her father hung up without responding. Within hours, her mother called, then Chelsea, each attempting different emotional tactics to convince her to reconsider her cruel and selfish stance. Iris held firm, repeating her conditions to each of them. By evening, she was emotionally exhausted, but proud of maintaining her boundaries. She called Dr. Levine for an emergency session. "You did exceptionally well," the therapist assured her. "You offered help without sacrificing your self-respect." "They won't agree to therapy," Iris said. "They never acknowledge there's anything wrong with our family dynamic." "Perhaps not," Dr. Levine acknowledged, "but you've made it clear that access to you and your resources now comes with requirements for how you're treated. That's tremendous progress." 3 days passed without contact from her family. Then, on the 4th day, her mother called. "Your father and I have discussed your conditions," she said stiffly. "We're willing to consider the therapy if you'll help us with the financial situation immediately." It wasn't perfect, but it was movement. Iris arranged for a financial advisor to review her parents' situation before committing any funds. The advisor's report confirmed what she suspected. Years of financial favoritism toward Chelsea had contributed significantly to their current crisis. "They've refinanced their home 3 times, the advisor explained. primarily to invest in your sister's business and lifestyle. Armed with this knowledge, Iris structured a limited assistance plan that would help prevent foreclosure, but required her parents to make significant changes to their spending habits, particularly regarding Chelsea. The first family therapy session in May was tense and unproductive. Her parents were defensive, Chelsea was tearful, and Iris struggled to articulate years of hurt without sounding accusatory. But it was a start. By the third session, small breakthroughs began to occur. Her mother acknowledged, with obvious reluctance, that there might have been some imbalance in how they treated their daughters. Her father remained more resistant, but was at least present and participating. Chelsea's reaction was the most surprising. After initially defending her parents and accusing Iris of overreacting, she began to recognize the problematic patterns once they were pointed out by the therapist. "I never saw it from your perspective," she admitted to Iris during their fifth session. "I always thought you were the strong one who didn't need anything." Meanwhile, Iris's professional life continued to flourish. The senior project manager position became official in June, bringing increased responsibility and compensation. She found herself working closely with Elliot Chen, an environmental engineer whose thoughtful approach to sustainable design complemented her structural expertise. Their professional collaboration gradually evolved into coffee breaks, then dinners, and eventually a relationship that surprised Iris with its ease and mutual respect. "My family is complicated," she warned him early on, expecting the drama to scare him away. "Everyone's family is complicated in their own way," Elliot replied with a shrug. "What matters is how you handle it." And Iris was handling it, setting boundaries, communicating her needs, and most importantly, no longer measuring her worth by her family's validation. The financial assistance she provided to her parents came with clear terms that they were following, albeit grudgingly. The family therapy continued, with incremental progress in each session. By summer's end, her mother had even visited San Francisco, staying in a hotel rather than assuming she could occupy Iris's space, a small but significant sign of evolving respect for boundaries. On a warm September evening, Iris and Elliot sat on her apartment balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors reminiscent of her drive south 9 months earlier. "My parents asked if I'm coming home for Christmas this year," she told him, sipping her wine thoughtfully. "And are you?" "I'm considering it," she said, "but on my terms, a short visit, staying in a hotel rather than the house, and with very clear expectations about gifts." Elliot smiled. "That sounds healthy. And if it becomes too much, then I leave," Iris said simply. "I've learned that I always have that option." Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother, a photo of the piggy bank from Christmas, now filled with actual savings. The message read, "Setting aside for your visit. Your choice of hotel. We're trying." Iris showed the message to Elliot, who raised an eyebrow. "Progress? Baby steps?" Iris agreed. "But real ones." As night fell over San Francisco, Iris reflected on the journey that had begun with a $2 insult and a middle-of-the-night escape. The pain hadn't disappeared completely, and her family relationships remained works in progress. But something fundamental had shifted, not just in how her family treated her, but in how she allowed herself to be treated. The piggy bank that had once symbolized her family's dismissal of her worth now represented something different. Her refusal to accept less than she deserved. The true gift hadn't been the painful Christmas moment, but the clarity and courage that followed. "I think the hardest part of growing up," she told Elliot, "is realizing that the people who should value you the most sometimes don't know how. And the most important part is learning that their failure doesn't determine your worth." Elliot squeezed her hand in understanding, and Iris smiled, finally at peace with the knowledge that she was and always had been enough, with or without her family's recognition. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more powerful narratives of self-discovery and healing. Hit that like button and leave a comment sharing your thoughts or experiences. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that matter.